Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Rock Unfiltered. So today we had the UEFA Champions League draw today, but with a whole new different format and obviously 4 more added teams to the tournament compared to last season. Last year having 32 teams, this year having 36. But obviously the big change from last season to this season's draw is that there will be an AI computer deciding the matchups and fixtures for this season's tournament. So obviously you have the 4 pots, obviously pot 1, pot 2, pot 3, and pot 4. They would do the balls, of course, like normal from previous draws, and they would pick a team, obviously, like Manchester City per se, and then obviously Cristiano Ronaldo would press the button, and then the AI computer would come up with the teams that team would be facing, home and away, of course. And obviously, it was very confusing at first because nobody quite understood it. But as time went on, I started to understand and pick it up, of course. So, for you guys who didn't understand it, each team would be facing 2 teams from each pot. So pot 1, you have the big teams, of course. Pot 2, pot 3, pot 4, etc. like I said. So each team would be facing 2 teams from each pot. So, of course, Milan today, of course, had their teams decided. And this is their draw. They will be playing teams like Real Madrid and Liverpool, of course. Those 2 teams were in pot 1. Then in pot 2, you obviously had teams like Brugge and Leverkusen, right? So that was from the pot 2, of course. And then in pot 3, you had Red Star Belgrade and GNK Dinamo. Of course, we played those guys a few years ago. And then you had the other 2 teams from pot 4. You had Girona and Bratislava. Now, if you guys ask me regarding this draw format, I don't mind it, but I kind of like the old way. You know, it's a little bit more suspenseful, of course. And this time, we are only playing 7 different opponents instead of playing the same opponent twice, which is very odd, of course. You'd play 3 opponents twice, and that would make up your group stage. Now, the way it works now, guys, is that we're going to have 7 opponents. Of course, the names I just mentioned. Of course, Milan plays 4 at home and 4 on the road. Now, for this to work, obviously, it's a little bit different. There's no more group stage, of course, anymore. So how it's going to work is like a point system like normal. 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, 0 for a loss, of course. So this is how it's going to work out. I'm going to explain it to you. I read it here on UEFA.com. So the results of each match will decide the overall ranking in the new league, with 3 points for a win and 1 for a draw still applying, like I mentioned. The top 8 sides in the league will qualify automatically for the round of 16. So obviously the first place teams, the best placed 8 place teams, of course, that have finished first, right? So top 8 seeds qualify for round of 16, while the teams finishing from 9th to 24th place will compete in a 2-legged knockout phase playoff to secure their path to the last 16 of the competition. Teams of the finish 25th or lower will be eliminated and will not have access to the Europa League. So this time, guys, around, if you get eliminated and you're not having a good amount of numbers, you're going out back to domestic. You're not going into Europa League like it was before, where if you had one of the best 3rd place finishes, you can go into the Europa League. That seems to be done and dusted. So the new format with all the teams ranked together in a single league will mean that there is more to play for all the way through the final night of the league phase. And also says, in the knockout phase, the teams that finish between 9th and 16th will be seeded in the knockout phase playoff draw, meaning they will face a team placed from 17th to 24th with, in principle, the return leg at home. The 8 clubs which prevail in the knockout phase playoffs will progress to the round of 16, where they will each face one of the top 8 finishers who will be seeded in the round of 16. So basically, guys, it's just a round of 32 knockout round. Whoever gets there between 9th and 24th ranked, whoever has the best amount of points there will play each other in a seeded playoff draw again, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I know it's a bit confusing at first, but you know what? I'm sure we'll get used to it, and things will be a little bit different. Now, to talk about Milan's group, what can I say, guys? The fact that Milan are going to be playing Real Madrid on the road in the Bernabeu, first time in 14 seasons, that's pretty awesome. But the way the team's playing right now in that defense, the way how leaky it is, I don't know if I'm excited to go up against an attacking trident of Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius, and Rodrigo. especially with Davide Calabria on that right side. My God, I can just imagine Vinicius licking his chops if he sees that guy on the right side of the field. Then we obviously have Liverpool, who we played a few years ago in the group stage. They beat us handedly at home. We obviously went there to Anfield. We gave them a test in the first half. We were beating them 2-1 at halftime, but then obviously Liverpool turned it up in the second half, and they end up beating us. So Liverpool's going to be a difficult test. Leverkusen, of course, almost had an undefeated treble last season, except for Atalanta spoiling it for them in the Europa League final. But that doesn't mean anything else. Leverkusen are an extremely difficult team, undefeated in the Bundesliga, of course, defending champion. Xabi Alonso's a fantastic manager. They're going to give Milan an extremely difficult time. If you guys want my honest opinion, I think Milan will not beat Liverpool, Leverkusen, or Real Madrid. The way that defense is playing right now, they give me no confidence. So I don't see why I would think that they can beat either one of those three teams. The way that Milan is going to get into the next round, they have to beat the smaller clubs. So obviously, like I mentioned, Club Brugge, Bratislava, Red Star Belgrade. Okay, these are the teams Milan have to beat. If Milan beats these other 5 teams, they'll have 15 points. I'm sure that will be able to get them through into the next round. But to say the least, guys, I am not confident at all, of course, because the first 2 games have not looked positive at all. From a Milan fan's perspective, of course, they just have not played well at all. So imagine going up against a team like Real Madrid in the Bernabeu. It just gives me nightmares thinking about it, of course. We'll see how Milan plays against Lazio on Saturday. It's going to be very interesting to see how Fonseca changes the team, if he sticks to a 4-2-3-1 or if he goes to a 4-3-3. But we got some news today as well, guys. Fabrizio Romano just reported about 10-15 minutes ago that Milan and Roma have come to an agreement for Alexis Salamakers and Tammy Abraham for a straight loan swap. So before, there was rumors of a permanent deal between Abraham and Salamakers for 10 million euros plus Salamakers for Abraham. But it seems like now it's just a straight swap between the two clubs. And I have to say, guys, it's a great move for Milan. It needed to be done. They needed a striker. Okay, so I'm really glad that they made this move. I'm going to mention more in a separate video about Tammy Abraham and what I like he's going to bring to the table to this team, because I really think they needed another striker. But guys, this Champions League draw, it was very interesting to say the least. Do I think Milan can get out of it? Yes, I do, of course. Do I think they can beat those 3 big teams? Not confidently. Do I think they can get a result? Of course. But do I think they will beat them? Not likely, of course, guys. But guys, thanks for watching this video, of course. Click like if you like this video. Subscribe if you guys want to see more content, guys. Forza Mille Sempre, Milan Lazio Saturday. And remember, if you do not watch sports, you are more. Ciao, guys.